a dream of mine is to be able to be a good influence for people in the world, to be able to find my music and then find the Lord.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Yep, it's Thursday. We have another amazing podcast. This week, I had the opportunity to interview Gracie Binion. I had met her about 3 years ago. I was blown away at her worship gift, and I had wanted to get her on, and man, I got to sit down with her. I had no idea that she had recorded with Elevation and that her worship was exploding. You get to see that conversation transpire. It's an incredible time with a up-and-coming worship leader. If you haven't seen it, check out our Jardim Gramacho video. The link's down below in the description. That's our base in Brazil. And if you haven't signed up, only if you are an alumni for our online training or an alumni from our Harvest School, we have an event in person, 5 days here in Tennessee. The link's down below. Check that out as well. And enjoy this episode with Gracie Binion. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Iris Global Green Room. Today, I have my friend. I'm going to say friend.
Yeah,
you're a friend whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
That sounds creepy. I'm not creepy. This is Gracie Binion,
yeah,
not
good
Binion.
Job. Right.
Binion.
Good job. Nailed it.
Thank you.
Yep.
I like the encouragement, Gracie. And I'm not saying this. I've wanted you on for a while. Actually, it's been a couple of years, and then I forget. And then you popped across my feed recently, and I was like, oh man, I've wanted to have you on because I saw you, 3.5 years ago, something like that.
Probably like 4.
Is it 4 by now?
No,
it's over.
If you're talking about what you're talking about, if my hair was that short.
It was very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you a little clip.
Yeah.
The first time I saw you was at a Legacy conference when my daughter was like, Dad, we were in California, and she was like, Dad, I feel like I'm supposed to go to this conference, which she had never said to me ever. And like coming from the conference world where we travel, the fact that my daughter wants that or said that was incredible. So we came to this event, which actually ended up having us move here to Franklin.
That was before I lived here.
It was? You were visiting.
From Texas.
You were up on the platform and you were singing a song that I stinking love, which I found out like a week ago your family wrote, or you wrote, or your mom and dad.
I think, was it the one in the video, or was it a different song?
What was it called again? I forget.
Probably, oh my gosh.
My brain.
Here Comes the Glory?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That's like legit one of my favorite ministry songs. Like, I just love it. I love it. But I
would say thanks, but I didn't write it.
You didn't.
But my dad wrote it.
Your dad wrote it.
Yeah. Well, I think he co-wrote it, but I don't know who he co-wrote it with.
Listen. So before we get into all this stuff, tell the people what you do.
I am just a girl. I'm a pastor's daughter. Exactly. You're
a PK.
I'm a PK.
Why are you staring over there?
There's an imaginary person over there.
Yeah, we can both do it.
Just talking to them. Hey everybody. My name is Gracie.
She likes Gwen Stefani.
I'm a PK.
Yeah.
I write and record music. I've been writing music since I was a small child. All kinds of music, pop music. I wrote a song about a boy who lived down the street when I was 9, and that's kind of how it started.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lead worship. I travel and do that with my family, starting to by myself now, which is so crazy.
Is it?
Yeah. It feels like a responsibility, like to carry a mantle and, please the Lord. And
you're based out of Texas, right? Or no?
I'm based here now.
You're based here now, but before you...
I was in Texas. Okay. So I'm in Nashville. I'm getting married in 29 days.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I think I know the family.
Yeah, the Garmanys.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all connected with that crew.
Yeah, because you know Reese.
I do.
And Sam.
I
They're
do.
engaged. Malachi is Sam's younger brother.
Okay.
I'm engaged to Malachi.
Okay.
So we're getting married in 29 days. I think they're getting married in like 100 days or something like that.
Well, but who got engaged first?
We did. I'm pretty sure.
You guys did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Cool.
How did you know? How did you know he was the one?
So, okay, it's actually a fun story.
Sure, tell me.
And it took a while. Okay. So we were best friends for a while. And around Asbury time when all that was happening, we had driven like there and back in a night, and we were like driving to all these different colleges and all these different like revivals that were happening, like the all-night prayer services that were going on. And so one of the nights, him and a few other of my friends came, and they all slept on my living room floor, because we got back so late. We had to get up early for a prayer set the next morning. Yeah. So I'm sleeping on my couch. All my friends are sleeping on the floor. And for probably 2.5 hours, I was like paralyzed in the fear of the Lord in this room.
I thought you were just staring at the sky.
Yeah, I was just staring at him, falling in love. No, that definitely did not happen.
Paralyzed in fear.
Yeah, paralyzed, which I've never experienced anything like that before. But like after that was my first year of ministry school, kind of this whole transformation in my relationship with the Lord and like my love for the presence of God. Yeah. So I'm laying there on the couch, and it's raining, and I had just done this Chris Valentin prophetic workbook, and he talks about how like God's first language is not English, and he speaks through everything, right? And so I feel like I'm hearing the Lord in this storm. Okay, it's raining outside, and I feel like he's saying, I'm coming, I'm getting closer. And I can't move. I can't close. I don't want to close my eyes because I'm afraid something's going to happen. And I don't want to keep my eyes open because I'm afraid I'm going to see something. Yeah. And like lightning would strike, thunder, and like my leg would like fly up in the air, right? And so after like 2 hours, I'm laying on my side, and my right ear gets super, super hot. And I hear the audible voice of God for the first time in my life say, I'm here. And I go into a vision. I sound like I'm making this whole thing.
No, I'm in this.
Like,
I'm there.
How did that happen?
I'm
like,
with
what's
you
your
in the
relationship
vision.
like? And I'm like locked in. Okay. So I go into this vision, and I'm sitting next to Malachi. It's literally like I'm fully awake. I'm not asleep, fully awake. My eyes are open, and this is all like I'm watching a movie. I'm sitting next to Malachi, and we're walking into some house. A couple who goes to Legacy, we're walking into their house. And Malachi is telling me the story of cutting his son's umbilical cord. Okay.
Let's go.
And I was like, yeah, I know, Malachi, I was there. I remember. And he's like laughing like it's a funny story or whatever. And so we walk into this house, and then the couple that was welcoming us there, they were like, come on, guys, the kids want to like put on a show before dinner. Yep. And then it cuts to this like scene, I guess, of Malachi like throwing and catching something. So random.
What's the thing?
Yeah, whatever. So
okay.
What's the thing?
Yeah, what was he throwing?
I don't know. Okay. I think it was like, so okay, I thought, I don't know, I couldn't tell, but then like months and months later, there was this moment where we were like walking on a sidewalk with his brother and so with Sam and Reese, and Sam like threw a water bottle to Malachi, and he caught it, and it totally reminded me of that. So anyway, I come out of that vision like gasping for air. I felt like I got hit by a truck. That was and like all that fear and that whole moment felt like it was over after that. And I like crashed and went to sleep for like an hour. And I had no idea what that meant at all. I didn't like him. That wasn't going on.
There was nothing ahead of this.
No, I mean, I didn't think anything of it at the time. Right. So I told him about it and everything. I was like,
why?
Because I just thought like, we were like best friends, and I'm thinking like,
so you had a friendship there.
Yes. Oh yeah. We had a friendship. We had already developed like a really good friendship at this point, and so so he was at my house that next morning. We were gonna go to this prayer room together, and I was like, I had the craziest encounter with the Lord last night. I was like, I had this vision, and like you were there, and he was like, wow, I guess we're gonna be friends for a really long time. I was like, yeah, I guess we are. That's the only thought that crossed my mind when it came to this. Fast forward.
What were you expecting him to say?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, neither of us were like into each other as far as I know.
Okay. Come on, James, you're amazing. Thank you.
God bless you.
Jamba Juice.
Thank you.
This is a first for the green room. We've never had Jamba. But today's the day.
You've had Jamba in your life, though.
Yes.
Okay. Just not here.
Yeah. It just felt right
today. Do we need to cover the logo?
No, I feel like we should.
Does this go through the top?
No, you gotta peel this thing off.
Okay.
Cheers. Okay, so you guys are friends.
Yeah, that's good.
What did you order?
It's
This is bothering me.
that might be yours. Is this yours?
It has my name on it.
Do we switch? Do we switch straws?
Listen, you can have a freshie. I'll take that one.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that has peanut butter in it, which I like.
Yeah.
But I think that's yours because I don't think I ordered it.
I'm on day whatever of a fast,
Yeah.
and I
You
want
gotta
to actually.
have the peanut
I need
butter.
a little bit of protein.
Yeah.
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 It's one of those days.
All
You're
right.
not meant to announce your fast, too.
Whatever. I just did. It's okay. I don't care.
It is okay.
It's
Some people
okay.
don't talk about it at all. I think the point is don't brag about it.
I'm on
right?
day.
It's really hard,
it's day
guys.
16, and I'm freaking holy right now. Okay.
Right. Amen.
No.
Amen.
Do you fast?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I do, but I need to again. I've been
Don't.
feeling like I need to.
Don't unless the Lord tells you.
I know, and I feel like he has been. I feel like I'm like, oh, I've been planning a wedding. I'm
Yeah.
kind of drowning.
No,
but
don't worry about it. But
I
anyway.
really want to, and I usually do liquid fasts too, and I
Mm-hmm.
do fast, so I understand the whole protein.
I rarely do this. I was just woke up and I was like, I really want to be all in for
Mm-hmm.
Gracie today, and I don't want to have any
Locking in.
excuses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you tell him.
Yeah. I tell him what happened, and we were like, that's probably a great idea to
You're
do
okay.
that. Yeah. We were like, wow, that's crazy. That's so awesome. We continued on in life. Whatever. Nothing really happened. That was towards the end of the first school year. We go the whole summer. Nothing. Except we did go to his parents' house. I went with some friends. We went to visit his parents, who are pastors in Chattanooga. And they had an all-night prayer thing. We took another trip up there to visit their church and just fell in love with his family. And again, nothing really happened until the second year of school started.
Yeah.
And it kind of flipped for both of us around the same time. And we didn't say anything, where we kind of developed feelings for each other. And then, we kind of started talking about it after a week or two, and it all started clicking in my head. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense.
Was this how you expected you would find a spouse?
I think the Lord knew I needed it to be something so insane, like an encounter. Mm-hmm. And I don't know my stance on the whole, the one, or you make the one, that's too stressful for me to think about, because I could have made the wrong decision so many times.
Yeah.
So I'm I like to believe that there is the one, and that's kind of how I want to live my life. But I've been taught so many different things.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected. But again, I think the Lord knew I needed it to be so obvious.
Right.
Because I was afraid of making the wrong choice.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people, at least that I talk to in your age, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I'm freaking old.
How old are you?
Guess.
27.
Yes. How did you get that?
I'm really good with ages.
You're so good.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
yeah.
42.
Okay. That's young.
I have a daughter that's not that far away from your age.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
I guess.
young. That's young. My dad is 61.
He doesn't look it.
I know.
We're jumping all over the place.
Yeah,
you
we
and
are.
I are going to have a problem. I can tell.
Yeah.
Because we both go everywhere. But I want to, there's a few things that I want to get to today.
Uh-huh.
But before we get there, when's your wedding? What's the date?
Valentine's Day.
Stop.
I know.
Why?
Okay. Funny enough, we wanted it to be in January, but the venue didn't have availability until February 14th.
Okay.
And then turns out, flashback to Asbury days, we hosted an all-night prayer night at our school. After going to Asbury and coming back, we hosted this all-night prayer night on Valentine's Day. So it's kind of cool how it all
a little full circle.
Yeah, it's
Do you
really
have
sweet.
What I notice a lot of my younger friends, they have all these crazy zany. They're like, my wedding's gonna be so unique. No one's ever seen it and done it. So I'm gonna bring in 4 clowns and do you have anything
unique about the wedding?
Yeah.
I wouldn't
feel like
say
you would.
unique and weird,
Yeah.
but I will say my mom is going all out. I'm their only daughter, so it's a big deal, and it's elaborate, and there's a coffee bar. So we're gonna have a little coffee cart,
Coffee's
lattes, cappuccinos.
That's fun. Anything else cool?
I don't know. It's fancy, which is interesting, right?
Yeah. I
It's
don't.
not like-
the little bit that I do know of you, I wouldn't go like she's going fancy.
Right.
So why fancy?
I don't know. It just feels right.
Feels
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom, like, she hired a string trio for the ceremony. We hired a DJ for the reception. Malachi loves to dance.
Okay.
So
I hate dancing.
Yeah.
We did
Me
not dance
too,
at our
actually.
weddings. That's a rule I have. I will not dance at a wedding. With
I'm
my
going to
wife.
force myself to, because I know I'll have more fun and I know we'll look back and enjoy it. But he's like an actual dancer. Like, he's really good.
What does that mean?
Like, he is like a self-taught like break dancer.
Okay.
So, and that sounds crazy, right?
No,
And
I know
thought-
multiple break dancers.
I don't. Okay.
Poppin'
So-
John.
What?
Do you know who Poppin' John is? He was
No.
on Ellen. He won like
Maybe I do.
talent. Like he's a good friend.
Okay.
And he's incredible.
Okay.
And he's like a world champion break dancer.
So I didn't know that I'm not well versed on break dancers.
Yeah.
And he told me that he could, and I'm thinking like, gosh, because I don't like dancing, like just in general. I took dance for 7 years of my life. When I was a little kid, though.
Okay.
I don't have that anymore. So he tells me he's a dancer. I know this about him. But then we go to a wedding and everyone's asking him. It's like all of his childhood friends. They're like asking him to break dance.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so embarrassing.
It is. I don't. That's why I don't know why people dance.
I thought it was going to be really embarrassing. And then he does a front flip into the circle.
See.
And I was like, okay, that's really cool.
Yeah. I can't. I don't understand. I don't understand this lifestyle that you're living.
Yeah.
Front flips.
My whole life
and-
is going to be me being forced onto a dance floor.
God, that's my literal worst nightmare. Like, I would rather go into a war zone
Yeah,
than
I get it.
dance.
I think it'll end up being fun.
Yeah.
I feel like I owe it to myself.
You do.
To let loose a little.
Sure.
You know?
I've seen you when you worship and you're not held, you don't hold back.
Right. I feel like if I can sing and look okay while I'm moving, I probably don't look crazy on a dance floor.
Is it just me, or do as you watch worship, do you see a lot of people just copy like Steph and like maybe like Bethel artists, like they all kind of have that same like
The way they move?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a thing, or is that just me as I sit there and judge
it's like,
people?
it's
in
half
worship?
and half. I feel like some people, they learn from what they watch and they want to imitate something that they really look up to.
Yeah.
And they kind of develop habits.
Mm-hmm.
I think other people just find themselves like I'm just going to say mother-in-law without future mother-in-law. We're 29 days away at this point. She like moves her hands a certain way.
You're already
when she
talking about
sings.
your mother-in-law? This is okay. Okay. Yeah, maybe we could do a wisdom session after this, but that's fine.
Well, okay, but I notice I do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she moves her hands when she worships like in a very specific way. She'll love that I'm talking about her right
Yeah,
now.
mother-in-laws love it.
I love you,
Yeah.
Emily.
Actually, I really like my mother-in-law
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
But she lives in another country.
Oh, yeah. You'll have that.
It's good.
Yeah. It's good.
Never mind. Edit that out. No, she's amazing. Actually, I love them.
Yeah. So we're moving to Chattanooga, so we'll be living there near them and going to their church and everything. They're amazing. But she moves her hands a certain way. I feel like she's been leading worship for decades, probably. Yeah. I feel like people develop habits, whether they look good or not. And it's kind of like a comfort thing sometimes too. Like I would feel so awkward. Okay, I don't play guitar on stage and lead worship. I would feel so awkward holding a guitar because I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do with my hands. But I've developed habits that make me feel comfortable. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think I do when I lead worship?
I don't know. I just think you're all in.
Yeah.
You're just all in.
Thanks.
All I see is passion. All I see is like love and intimacy. And I think one of the things that really drew me in was of course you don't care in the most beautiful way.
Yeah.
Which I think anybody that's leading, you can't, there can't be fear of man, right? There can't be fear of opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I was struck by how to me, it appeared that you just could care less what anybody thinks. It's like you're bringing us in to your personal one-on-one worship session with the Lord.
Yeah.
And I love that. I've been around long enough to see a lot of different streams and flavors, and I actually love them all, and I find beauty in all of them. But I think when I was really struck when I saw you worshiping was, of course, your talent.
Thanks.
That goes without saying. But you ooze purity in
Thank you.
it's to me, I can just see that you're caught up in worship with him.
Yeah.
And then there was something that I couldn't put my finger on until I found out that your parents were worship leaders. And watching them is more probably the generation that I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
And I think you carry over a lot of that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
In like a beautiful way.
I think I owe a lot of that to them because I was raised watching people do things the right way and do things the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I have felt so brokenhearted by watching people that I know and love like lose their way or lose their purity in worship. And I just like, I remember at like 18, 19, before I ever moved to Nashville, before I ever decided to go to ministry school, feeling like, God, I hate the idea of selling worship because I watched so many people get so far into this journey in a career and like, then, you know, they fall into drugs or they fall into like different lifestyles that
Right.
we shouldn't be living. And like, it just made me so sick. And I just developed a disdain for like selling anything. And I didn't want to do anything if it wasn't authentic because of what I was exposed to.
Yeah.
So I think I owe a lot of that to them.
What's your stance on that now? And honestly, Gracie, and maybe these guys should know this, like, I actually have no idea where you are at in your career / calling / gift mix.
Yeah.
All I know about you is you're freaking anointed.
Thanks.
I know that you lead at a local church, Legacy. We've had Lyle on here. We attended that church for years.
Yeah.
And still would, but the Lord called us to another spot. And then you popped up on my feed. So like, I'm not having you on here because I think like, oh wow, you're exploding. Well,
Yeah.
I actually have no idea. But here's what I do
Which
know.
I love about you.
Here's
by
what
the
I
way.
do know. Like, I know that from the moment I saw you're gifted, and it wouldn't surprise me if this year isn't like beyond expectation. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
How do you keep it pure?
Yeah.
Because you've walked through watching your parents and that generation, and maybe I'm reading into this, but sell.
Yeah.
Not that your parents did,
No, yeah.
but like we've all seen it. Like I've been in ministry 25 years.
Yeah.
Right? As long as you've been alive, I've been in ministry.
Yeah.
And I've run away from the selling of things. I think I saw that in an older generation. I think that's all that they knew. I don't think that I don't want to like point a finger. So
Right.
how have you kept yourself pure?
Yeah.
Or away from that?
Well, first of all, I think the trend of selling worship kind of started. Okay, we had big revival in the 90s, and when that kind of died off, in a sense, I feel like people were trying to latch on to something, and thought to at least knowing where my parents came from. And where they started their careers, like I feel like live worship really became a thing around that time and grew as an industry over time. And because we've strayed so far from that time period and from that atmosphere in a church setting, it's like all we have is what we're marketing rather than the presence of God. So all that to say, I still wrestle all the time with like whether or not, okay, I'm like signing to a new label, and I put out a Christian artist album this last year, which to me, I've kind of drawn a line of like, I don't understand, but I'm trying to understand the difference between Christian artistry and Christian worship leading. I think both are really important, and I think it's really important not to blur the lines, if that makes sense.
It does.
And like, even if I do both, knowing that these are separate things. I'm not going to go to a church to lead worship and sing all of my Christian artist songs if they're not worship songs.
Yeah.
And if I'm marketing myself, I don't want to do that on a church platform.
Yeah.
I personally hate the idea of recording a live worship album and selling it, but I also know that that's something the Lord's asked me to do. I just want to make sure I do it really carefully and make sure that there is a difference in whatever artist music I put out and whatever worship I put out. Like not putting them on the same album and not trying to like make a profit off of a sacrifice.
Yep.
So I'm still kind of walking the line and figuring that out this year, especially because I'm recording a couple different projects that I'm wanting to like just do really carefully.
Yeah.
So I'm being very prayerful and trying to be strategic with how I do that all. But yeah, I think making sure that there is like a line between what I feel comfortable marketing and what I know, like, I'm not going to make merch off of this and profit off of,
Right.
you know. My dream someday is to be able to, do you remember when U2 made that album and it was on everybody's phones?
Yeah. The red one, right?
Whatever.
What was it called? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
I don't know.
James is a YouTube fan.
I have
The
no
U2,
idea.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. iTunes did it. So
Yeah.
everyone who had
Yeah,
iTunes.
it was on everybody's phone. It was like free, right?
Yeah.
My dream is to be able to put out a live worship album completely free. I can't do that right now, obviously,
Why?
because this is like full time.
Okay.
So I don't have like another form of, you know, income, and it's like a huge like budget to record an album. So to be able to pay for it and everything, like you have to, if you're signed to a label, you have to recoup the budget.
Yeah.
Which is a whole thing.
So
but
you're
I think
currently signed.
I'm currently having a lawyer read a contract.
Okay.
So I was signed to another label. I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Okay. We don't have to
So,
talk about that.
Yeah.
But that whole world, it
Yeah.
sounds like at one side of, like, what I hear you saying is like, I want to live in, not, maybe, forgive me.
Yeah, no, go.
I hear you saying like, I know that I'm called to put out things, produce, label, Christian artistry, right? Which is awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. And actually my viewpoint on all this has changed drastically since I started interviewing different worship leaders
Yeah.
and Christian artists.
My view has changed just watching people respond to the music as well. Like
Yeah.
people fasting secular music and they're like, this album is getting me through.
Yeah.
Like that's really cool to see.
Josh Baldwin sat right here and was like, I am called to worship and I'm called to write bangers that go up on the radio.
Yeah.
And people listen to that and the Lord plants a seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, I think I was very like black and white. Like this is secular. This is,
Right.
this is worship. This is like, like good
Yeah.
Christian. And having different people sit here and
Yeah.
hearing their perspective. Like I think for me, it was Josh Baldwin. You guys can go back and listen to it if you want to. Josh Baldwin, like this humble, just like, God's called me to do this.
Yeah.
And like, I'm very happy doing this thing. And I'm also happy doing all the other things. He's like, I'm just obedient
Yeah.
to what the Lord's put in front of me. That was a beautiful conversation. And I actually walked out of there being like, oh, like God, you actually are calling people into this space.
Yeah.
Before I was like, that's all
Yeah.
garbage. But it's just worship and the
Well,
purity of this
when
worship.
you have witnessed people be in that realm in an impure way
yeah.
and do it the wrong way,
Yeah.
it's easy to just
Write
what's
it
the
off.
term? Throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. And I've witnessed a lot. And I've witnessed a lot in all of them, right?
Yeah.
And I was at Michael W's. A few months ago, I was with Michael W. Smith at his house.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, Michael W. Smith is like, he's kind of bridged the gap between the two. He's like OG. And I was in his house and he was telling me, it was like a party thing that I was invited to. And I'm not like hanging out with Michael. I don't want to get that. But like I was in his house. I had this moment to be like, hey, I thank you
Because
for
you
what
guys
you
are
do.
best friends.
We're besties.
Yes.
Thanks, Michael. Actually, if you want to come on, you can. But I was there and he was sharing the story of writing Agnes Day.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know that song, it's Alleluia for the Lord God Almighty. Yeah, it's incredible. And I'm sitting there in his house and I'm like, he tours and travels and there's awards on the wall.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just wrote that in the basement of this house.
Yeah.
Just like worshiping unto the Lord. And I was like, man, Will, you judgy man. Like, it's one of my favorite worship songs. Third Day ended up recording it.
Yeah.
Which was like the soundtrack of my salvation. And like, yeah, there is a place for people to live in both worlds,
Yeah.
worship and get their music out there. But the heart is you got to stay pure.
Yeah.
And I think you got to stay obedient.
It's funny. I feel like the people who are the most pure in doing all of it, it's like they're the people who dislike it the most, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like disliking the award shows and all of it. Like, I went to the Dove Awards. Sorry, I hate going to the Dove Awards, but I still went.
You went to the Dove Awards?
Yeah.
Why?
My parents were nominated.
No way.
They didn't win, which 30 plus years in the industry and they haven't won anything is kind of whatever. It's okay.
Okay, so God, there's so many questions.
Yeah.
Tell me about your parents.
Okay. This is fun. Wait. Oh, okay. I probably forgot to mention something before about the last question you asked, but this is good. I'll stay where you are. Okay. My dad grew up in ministry his entire life. He started playing piano at the age of 7, and he has 4 brothers, 1 sister. His dad was a healing evangelist. So they toured Southern Gospel.
Yes.
He was born and raised in Texas. So
Okay.
they traveled out of Texas. And my dad actually has a book. I'm reading it right now. It's called The Invisible Worshiper.
Shout that bad boy out.
You guys, it's a really, really good book. The Invisible Worshiper. I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. You can probably get it on a Kindle. There's also copies in my parents' garage if you want me to mail you one. So I have one in my car right now. But it like kind of talks about, his encounter with the Lord when he was a young teenager and how everything kind of shifted for him. So he was playing piano. All of his siblings were the band. My Aunt Lisa, she's a drummer. She has an amazing testimony. She's a really, really cool lady. So they traveled full time. One time, and they're singing Southern gospel songs like about getting to heaven and whatever, all this stuff. And they sang at a Christmas service one time, and my dad, I'm gonna butcher the story. Basically, they sang "Oh Come Let Us Adore Him," and something shifted in the atmosphere, and so he wanted to recreate that same feeling. And so he goes off in their little, they sold everything. They had a furniture store, sold everything. So they were on a Greyhound bus full-time touring. I forgot to mention that. So he goes to their little Greyhound bus, and he's alone. Everyone's off doing something. He's alone, and he just leans up against the wall and starts singing, "Oh, come let us adore him." And he felt the presence of God come into the room, and that shifted his entire understanding of worship, going from this when we all get to heaven place to let's just adore him. And so they started doing that in different rooms, and it would totally shift the atmosphere. So he grew up doing all of that. He started writing songs. He wrote a song called "Oh for a Thousand Tongues," and
hold on. Can you just give me a bar of that bad boy?
Yeah. Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing praises unto thee. Oh, for 1,000 hands to raise in honor to the King.
Awesome.
So
I've heard the song.
Yeah, he wrote it when he was 18. So he's 61. So whatever math that is. And that was relatively big in what denomination was he? Church of God? Church of something?
Yeah.
Church of something.
Church of something.
Growing up anyway. But yeah, so he was nominated for Song of the Year when he wrote that at 18. And he was signed to Word Music at the time, and he felt a lot of pressure to write the next whatever. Okay, well that was great, now let's do this. And he made a conscious decision to not write another Song of the Year and not have that mindset of okay, this is a machine and I have to oil the machine.
Yeah.
And so
Which
that
is what
was
success does early on
Yeah.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, totally.
You got to maintain it.
Yeah. Especially if it's something you do full time. If that's
Right.
the only thing you do. It's how am I going to make a living? How am I going to make money?
Right.
So all of his siblings got married off. He started traveling full time with his sister.
Yeah.
They were a duo, writing songs and recording albums and stuff. And my dad, they moved to a church in Chicago, which is where my dad met my mom. And they got married there. And him and my mom and my aunt, my mom was singing in the choir at the church.
Okay.
So they traveled as a trio for a little while and recorded some stuff as well. Then my aunt had a drug addiction. Crazy. Her
This is the
testimony.
drummer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her testimony is really beautiful. She had a crippling drug addiction. Years later, ended up having this beautiful encounter with the Lord. She shares this testimony a lot, different platforms. Basically, she was trying to, what's the word when you're getting clean? There's a specific word for it. She had been on a bender and was coming down, I guess, and asked. So the woman I live with now is my godmother. She's been a friend of the family for decades, since before I was born. My Aunt Lisa asked if she could come stay at her house while she's coming down. And for some reason, you don't ever say yes to like an addict to come and stay in your house
that's a
when
tough
you're
one.
when you're not there too. She was out of town.
Yeah.
So she was like, yeah, I have a spare key. Felt like she needed to say yes. So my aunt goes and stays in her house, and she put the TV on. It was a Christian television station. Karen Wheaton. You know Karen Wheaton?
Mm-hmm.
Karen Wheaton is on the TV singing a song called Healing in This House.
Okay.
My aunt wrote that song.
Drummer aunt?
Yes.
Drugs, drummer.
Yes. She wrote
Bender,
the song.
coming down.
Yes.
Wrote.
Healing in This House.
Okay.
She's watching it on the TV, and she just gets this overwhelming sense of like, if they knew who wrote that song, they would not be singing it. So she gets up to go kill herself in the bathroom.
Time out. Help me.
Yes.
Help me, because my brain.
Yeah.
So your aunt is going through withdrawals.
Yes.
Watching Karen Wheaton sing a song that she wrote.
Yes.
On TV.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm sure everybody watching that got that. I did not.
Yeah,
but yes, I
I'm
just want to make
speaking
sure.
like a million miles a
Go
minute.
for it.
So she gets up to go commit suicide in the bathroom because she just feels this overwhelming sense
Shame.
of guilt.
Yeah.
So as soon as she gets up, she felt arms wrap around her and just fell to the ground. And immediately after that, like, she went to rehab and like got clean. And that is her story of the Lord rescue. I mean, there's so much more to it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, but so many more. Like one time, oh gosh, she has like countless stories to tell.
What drugs was she on?
Probably everything.
Okay.
She tried meth once.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you get hooked for life.
Yeah.
And she only tried it once. But she was in an alley with a drug dealer one time, and he held a gun to her head and pulled the trigger, and it didn't go off. It was jammed. Wow. She just went running, and she said all she could see in her mind was her mom praying for her. So, forgot to mention, my granddad, the healing evangelist.
Yeah.
Yes. My dad saw the dead raised when he was 13.
What's your grandfather's name?
Oh my God, Bob Binion. Forgot for a second.
It's okay.
Pawpaw.
Pawpaw Binion.
Pawpaw Binion. He's passed away. He passed away a couple years ago now.
Okay.
So both of my grandparents on my dad's side have passed away, but they were like tight with the Lord.
Yeah, and I don't
Real
want to skip
tight.
over. You just said your dad saw someone raised from the dead at how old?
13.
13 years old.
He was in front of my granddad praying for a woman who had a brain tumor. She died. The brain tumor disappeared. She came back to life.
My God. So who did Papa Binion roll with? Is there anyone like in the
probably
healing
nobody
stream?
you know.
I know him.
Probably,
all.
but literally like nobody. Like nobody I know.
Okay. So it wasn't connected with like A.
No,
Allen or
I don't think
any
so.
of those. Okay.
No, they're like that's what I love about being able to tell their stories is nobody really did.
Yeah.
And nobody probably will except for my family.
I love it.
And there's no like documentation of anything. They really were like nameless and faceless people.
Come on. Except his name was Pawpaw.
Yeah.
And he had
except
a face.
Pawpaw, and he
Yeah.
had a big old face.
Yeah,
I'll tell
yeah.
you that much. But yeah, so my parents started traveling. My aunt was getting clean. Another part of her testimony, I have an older brother. So my parents got married. They were the worship pastors at this church in Indiana.
Yep.
Tommy Tenney came. Oh my God, there's so many good stories. Okay, you know Tommy Tenney?
It's a long story, but I wrote a book called God Runner, and I told my publishers I didn't want to write it because you had God Chasers.
God Chasers, yeah.
And I was like, I know, it sounds too much like God. And God Chasers rocked my world.
Yeah.
It was kind of that early salvation
Yeah.
time in my life. And he ended up coming to a meeting I did in Florida. And I heard he was there.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, Tommy's sitting in the room. And Tommy, I just want you to know, like, I didn't want to name my book God Chasers. But my publisher was like, no, this is the name.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't want to even begin to be compared with God Chasers. I didn't want to name a book God Runner. But because I didn't want the comparison. And he wrote me the sweetest letter. Like I could, like after, and it was his first time he ever saw me minister.
Yeah.
He just wrote me the kindest letter. Like, yeah. So anyway, I have tons of respect for Tommy Tenney.
So my parents met him at the beginning of their marriage, really. So like 93 is when they got married. So a little after that, Tommy comes to their church unannounced. He had just had the meeting at that church where the pulpit split in half.
Yes, which is the thing that flipping marked me.
Yes.
Reading that story and
Yeah.
seeing the picture.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen the pulpit. They
You
keep
have?
it. They keep it in the lobby at the church. They
Are you
keep both
serious?
halves. Yeah.
Oh, I got to go visit that.
Yeah.
I just want to see it.
Yeah.
Tell the story of what happened, just so people know what we're
okay.
even talking about.
So, okay, Tommy goes to this church. to preach. I don't know all the little details. I don't even remember where the church. I feel like it's in Houston or something. I don't know.
Houston, Florida, somewhere around
Somewhere,
there.
yeah. So he walks up onto the pulpit or onto the stage behind the pulpit, and I don't remember what he said before this. He might have not said anything before this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he says, I feel like God is asking us to stop seeking his hands and start seeking his face.
Yeah.
And when he said that, the pulpit split in half and he flew back, I think like 15 feet or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
Between 5 and 15, I don't want to lie.
It doesn't
It's
matter.
somewhere
He
in there.
flew back.
He
the
flew
power of
back.
God hits the room
Yes.
and the pulpit splits in half.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I remember correctly, there was like a boom in the
Yes.
like it was like
Like
boom,
thunder, yeah.
and then crack. Yeah.
So that happens.
Woo! What's
So
up?
he
Put that in your theological pipe
Right.
and smoke it.
Right. So he comes off of that trip, like weeks off of that trip.
Yeah.
And there's just like, it's like my dad describes it as like Moses coming off
Yeah.
the mountain. In that one movie, 10 Commandments, he describes it specifically like the scene in that movie, which I have not seen, by the way.
I was
I'm a
going to
little
say
too
it's
young.
in the Bible. It's not just a
Yeah,
movie.
right.
No,
I
I'm
know.
just kidding.
But he like describes the scene like,
Yeah.
what was the actor's name?
Tommy
wasn't-
Lee Gibson. No, I'm just
Was
making.
it Mel
I
Gibson?
forget.
No,
No, it wasn't.
surely it
It was.
wasn't.
It was.
Who was the guy?
Stop.
Does anybody know?
Yes.
He's also in Ben-Hur.
Yeah, flipping NRA guy too. He does I think he worked for the NRA for a little while.
I don't know.
Forgive me. James will find it.
Okay.
We need one of those guys that goes, "Hey, fact check," and they just yell
Yes.
back.
Yeah, and then like it comes up on the screen and everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So my dad kind of describes it as that. He comes into the room. He almost didn't make it. They had been experiencing some crazy moments in the presence of God at their church in it was really Indiana, like south of Chicago. And so the pastor was like, we're calling a prayer meeting. If you're not here by 4 p.m., we're locking the doors. So Tommy gets there almost too late. And so they almost didn't let him in. But one of the security guards recognized him and he comes in. The pastor doesn't know he's going to be there. But the pastor comes up to him and he's like, I had a dream that you were here the other night.
Wow.
I need you to get up there and pray. And he was like, gotta be honest with you, I have no idea what's going to happen if I get up there. I don't know what I'm going to say. He was like, that's okay. And so he gets up there to say something. And when he opens his mouth to speak, all that came out was a groan. And everybody hit the floor for like, I think it's either 4 to 6 hours. Again, I don't want to get the details wrong. But my dad was supposed to lead worship and he was hiding under the piano for at least 4 hours. And he thought it was like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So after that, there was this like, my parents felt like they couldn't stay where they were because the pastor essentially kind of shut it down. After a few weeks, he was like, this isn't revival. You guys are still in debt and this is still happening and, to the congregation. And so the presence of God left. And my parents were like, we can't live like this. We can't do this anymore. And so they ended up traveling full time with Tommy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They toured with Tommy. There's a DVD that I have at my parents' house of my dad singing, it might be the devil, it might be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody, which is a cover of, who wrote that song?
I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that's like an old, like somebody like a secular artist wrote that song. I don't remember. But they did that with Tommy and Jeannie, his wife. And my mom was a background singer, which I think is the funniest thing in the world because my mom is like my favorite singer ever. And she's
got
like,
pipes.
Yeah, she's up there doing BGVs, which is so cute to watch.
Hold on. What's a BGB?
BGV, background vocals.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm not in part of this scene.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a common term, honestly, so that's my bad.
You thought, hold on,
thought
time out.
everybody
You
knew
thought like
about
I'm going to walk into a
BGVs.
room and say BGV. And everybody, like 90% of people would understand what I'm talking
Sorry.
about. I love that.
I think I hang out a little too much with musicians.
You've been raised by musicians.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, they toured with Tommy full time. They went with Tommy when he spoke at the Brownsville Revival
No way.
for years in the 90s.
And you were getting hauled around with him?
I wasn't born yet. I was born in 2001.
God,
I know.
forget this.
I know. Sorry.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I was living in Paraguay
That's
when you were
crazy.
born. Yeah.
I was not,
Yeah.
obviously.
Obviously.
I went to Australia in the womb.
I don't know what that means. Oh, like your mom
Like
went over
in the
there.
womb, yeah.
Okay.
In my mom's womb.
I leave Saturday for Australia.
That's exciting.
No,
I've
it's
never
not.
been it's not exciting?
I'm done. I want to
Oh,
travel
you're not.
right now. I'm
Oh,
tired.
I get it.
Yeah.
I went to Paris recently.
It's the best.
We have an Aussie.
Yeah.
But it's the
I can
weird
hear that.
Australia. It's Tasmania.
Oh.
Yeah.
It was Charles Heston,
Yeah.
by the way.
Charles Heston.
Heston, that's
yes.
right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, James. Do you want some Vegemite?
I've got some at home.
I know you do.
You can get it on Amazon.
I went to Paris
Shout out.
recently, got food poisoning.
Yeah.
So as far as travel goes,
Yeah.
I get it. I literally was in my hotel room for 24 hours throwing up. It was awesome. So
It happens when you travel.
it does.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
were...
yeah. I wasn't born yet. My parents were traveling
Yep.
full time, and then they started recording albums of their own. And I don't remember. I think my older brother came first before this album. So he was born in 97, and my parents started traveling on their own full time. My mom was pregnant. And then when they had the baby, so the woman I live with, who I mentioned earlier, my godmother, she nannied us growing up. So she's like a third parent, basically, because my parents traveled as much as they did, which I loved. People always ask me like how that was for me. There's never been like a moment. They are such present parents. There's never been a moment where I resented them for it, which I know is so common in ministry families.
It is. You hear it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think I could ever have a negative thing to say about that experience.
It's funny. I feel like, and I don't know, I feel like my kids would say something similar.
Yeah.
Even though we did a lot.
I get that vibe from you.
I feel like my kids would say something similar.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to lose your family and be obedient.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I mean,
there's good
so
seasons,
many
bad
people.
seasons, but you don't have to. You can do it both. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, listen, hit pause.
Yeah.
Today, though, right? You grew up around this. You grew up around revival. You grew up around the move of God. When would you say you met Jesus? And even if that was young and you just grew up around it, which I love, that's one of my favorite testimonies. Like, when would you say you met him?
I think I would have a really similar answer to my dad, because I've heard him talk about this and I always have struggled to come up with the words. I think I've always known the presence of God. I think I was in the womb when, they were recording albums and like spending so much time in the presence of God with Tommy and with, I don't know if you know who Judy Gossett is.
I've heard the name.
Okay. She was, I think like a producer at the time and but in ministry in a, whatever else she did. God bless that woman. Yeah. She said I had Jesus eyes when I was a baby.
Come on.
But yeah, I mean, I was born in that atmosphere and in that environment. And one of their most life-changing albums they recorded, either I was a baby, or I was in my mom's. I think I was a baby. So I had always known the presence of God. I think the earliest memory I have of feeling and recognizing the presence of God, I was probably 6 or 7, and I remember like being in a church service with my parents somewhere. They took us, I think, because it was Easter, and they didn't want us to not be with them, something like that. But I remember feeling the tangible presence of God and like feeling the need to fall on my knees and be on my knees. And I remember making the decision not to, because I was so aware of my surroundings. And I always look back on that and like wonder what would have happened if I did at such a young age, and just kind of dove into that. So I was always aware of the presence of God, but I don't think I was in love with it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. And I love the Lord and I live for the Lord. I got baptized when I was like 7.
Yeah.
So that was, I feel like it was a constant progression. I always knew the presence.
Yeah.
But I didn't deeply know the Lord yet.
Yeah.
I think it so gradually happened, and I talked about feeling that like disdain for selling worship and stuff as I grew and matured in my faith and everything. But I feel like the first time I really, really met the Lord face to face was when I had that vision I told you about and that encounter, because that changed everything for me. So not only is that like my marriage story or whatever, but like that, my other marriage story, like that was when I really feel like I met the Lord and understood how an encounter with him can like shatter your whole understanding of the presence and of existence and of why I'm alive.
Yeah.
And all of the little assignments like don't matter at all when it comes to like, in comparison to just loving the Lord and being with the Lord and pursuing like face-to-face encounter with him just to be close to him. Like that to me is my main purpose in life.
Yeah.
Is being with the Lord and loving the Lord and aiming to and trying to seek his face and be as close to him as possible.
Would that be your, define worship for me? Like, what is Gracie's definition of worship?
This is what I was going to touch on earlier too, because I feel like I was talking about the separation between artistry and worship music. I truly believe that my entire life can be worship unto the Lord. I think if it's all unto his glory, right?
I love that.
So
it's actually a very Hebraic view of God and our relationship. Everything is unto the Lord. There isn't secular and sacred.
I think that's the only pure way to do things like secular music or Christian artistry, stuff like that, is to understand that is worship unto the Lord. It may not be congregational worship, but it is your worship unto him.
Yeah, your whole life.
Yeah. So that's my view on worship. And of course, sacrifice biblically. Like, I have that understanding as well. But yeah, I think everything we do in our lives can be worship if it's to glorify him. How did we get to this question?
I have ADD.
You asked my definition of worship.
Like, what's your definition of worship?
Yeah, I think that kind of encapsulates it all.
Yeah.
But
let me ask you another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've noticed a difference in people. This is me, that like meet the Lord later on in their life, or maybe they didn't grow up around Christians, and that the Lord puts favor on, and they go into worship or teaching. I've noticed a difference in those who have grown up around it, and maybe that's one of the things that drew me. Like, I could tell that it wasn't just a I was born with a good voice, and then I met the Lord 2 years ago, and now I'm singing, right? I think when I first saw you, you could tell there was a depth there. What do you think do you see a difference in those who have a history and a background? It's like, you've been around it.
Yeah.
Are you bringing something from your parents into what God's doing now? Or are you just like, I don't want that, I want the new, right?
I definitely understand too the importance of like a generational mantle, especially when it comes to like healing ministry and things that I struggle to understand how I could even step foot into. But I do understand that is a generational mantle as well, that I can only like trust like the Lord to trust me with, you know what I mean? But I will also say, like, there's people that I know, like, you know, Pastor Brian and Sonia.
Yeah, of course.
Sonia did not grow up a Christian.
Right.
But she is one of the most on fire women of God that I know. And like her deliverance ministry, like how she carries that anointing and everything is so cool to me, to see someone who did not grow up in a Christian family.
Yep.
But is like, it's just so interesting. I don't think I'll ever understand or be able to explain it away, like how people get what way, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do think there's a history that I have to build myself, but there's also a history that I get to inherit.
Right. So what are the things that you're bringing over from your parents that maybe you don't see in your generation that's leading worship now? Like, what are the things that you value?
Yeah. I think my parents have paved a lot of the way in what we call spontaneous worship today, because they were the generation before the, you know, the Upper Room and the Bethel, and like they were back in the 90s leading worship in revival times.
Yeah.
And I think it almost feels a little superficial to say, like, kind of just like surface level, but like the whole not caring thing, that definitely does feel like a direct pass down from like, and my mom fought those battles with herself too, like when they first started traveling, of like caring what people think. And she's got her testimony of when she gave up on care. My dad has never cared two hoots about what anybody thinks about him or what he does or what he says. You should have him on here sometime.
I would love to.
Yeah, he'd have a good time.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's ever cared. My mom has in the past, and I think she broke, if there could have been any kind of generational curse of that, or any kind of weight that could potentially latch itself onto me, I think she broke that for me. Yeah, I think I've definitely kind of inherited that from them, and I think that's helped me have the freedom to pave my own way or create my own history as well.
Separate from your family, who, as you like listen to people, as you see people, like, who are people that you're like, when I grow up, I want to carry what they're carrying. I want, like, who are the people that you look up to?
I obviously love Stephanie. Stephanie is, okay, the song No One Ever Cared For Me Like Jesus. Yeah. You know that one on her, what's the album title? That's the other one, but the other album. Was it The Narrow? So, I don't know, something like that. No One Ever Cared for Me Like Jesus is one of my favorite songs in the entire world.
Why?
That's such a good question. It's just such a testimony song, and I want that song to be my testimony in my life. First time I ever played that song for my dad, I was just like, oh, you haven't heard this song yet? We have to listen to it. And we're friends with Stephanie. Like, they'll send each other voice texts and stuff. And I played it for him, and we both cried through the whole song, and we were kind of laughing at ourselves for crying, but having that, like, you know, I know that that's his desire, that the testimony in that song, and then it's my desire as well. I freaking adore her. I love Rita.
Do you know I just had Rita on?
For real?
Yeah.
Okay. She's coming to my wedding.
Really?
Yeah, Rita's coming.
Rita blew my mind.
She is nuts.
She is. Do you know Jake Hamilton?
I know of Jake Hamilton. I don't know Jake Hamilton.
Okay. I was just chatting with him 2 days ago, and I'm like, Rita and Jake, I just need to put them in a room. I need to get both of them here. And
she does not play games at all.
Yeah. Neither does Jake.
Yeah.
They don't give a dang.
Yeah.
Like, they just could care less what anybody thinks. Jake, you got to come on. Rita, you got to come back. And I need to just go fight. Or not fight, but like, go. Yeah.
No, she is like, I've called her for, there's a circle of people in my life that I'm like, if you tell me to do something, I trust you. I trust that you hear from the Lord. That's going to be Rita. That's going to be Stephanie. That's going to be Michael Koulianos. That's going to be CeCe Winans.
You know CeCe Winans?
Yes, I know CeCe Winans.
How?
So, you know the song Alabaster Box?
I just saw her perform.
I love that woman. I love her so much. You know Alabaster Box, her song Alabaster.
She wrote Alabaster.
She did not write Alabaster Box. Okay. She recorded it, right? A woman in my parents' church. I don't remember her name, but she's a Pentecostal woman. She wrote the song. If you Google it, you can find out who wrote Alabaster Box. She wrote that song and sang it. Came to their church and sang it. My mom started singing Alabaster Box.
I break my alabaster box.
Yeah. I've come to pour my praise on you like oil from Mary's alabaster box.
Yeah.
Don't be angry if I wash his feet with my tears and dry them with my hair. You weren't there the night he found me. You did not feel what I felt when he wrapped his loving arms around me. Do you know that song?
I don't know.
Oh my God, you have to know that song.
I feel like I do, but I...
Yeah, it's a crazy song.
Yeah.
So
CeCe wrote that.
Pentecostal woman wrote it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
UPC lady wrote it, sang it at my parents' church. Janice Jostrand, that's her name. She wrote that song. Sang it at my parents' church. My parents heard it, and the pastor had my mom sing it for all these productions they did yearly. It was a very production-heavy church. My dad was Jesus in a passion play for 11 years. Yep, long hair. It was his real hair. He put some extensions in, but he had really long hair. Anyway, my mom started singing that song everywhere they went. She sang Alabaster Box. CeCe heard her sing it, and then... A friend of ours played it for CeCe, played my mom singing it, and then CeCe recorded it. And then CeCe made the song so famous, that was like CeCe's song. So we've known her and BB, her brother, for a very long time.
No way.
I think. And, oh my gosh, my parents would be so, if I can't remember his name. Oh my gosh. You know what? Do you mind if I...
You can do whatever you want.
He's on their album from like the early 2000s. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so...
While you're doing that, you're talking about your closest, like these are the people in your life.
Yep.
That if they tell you to do something, right? Mm-hmm. So these are the worship artists you respect. These are the leaders.
Yes, leaders that I like just trust that they hear from the Lord, and people I really admire.
So far, you're laying down some bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael Koulianos.
Yeah.
I love that man. Okay, I'm not going to find it, and I don't feel like looking for too long.
Hit pause. We'll insert it right here.
Yeah.
Okay,
great.
So now they know.
That's great. Yeah, they know now. He had...
I've never done that before.
He had singers that sang for like Man in the Mirror and like, you know, big songs like that. And so they were in the BB and CeCe circle. So CeCe is somebody, we're not close, but she recorded one of my songs that I wrote. And
Hold on, what? CeCe Winans?
Yep.
Recorded a song that you wrote.
Yes, she recorded a song I wrote called Hunger.
When?
in
I didn't even know this
2020,
about
I
you.
think?
You write songs?
Yes, I write songs. Yes.
And
yeah, so I wrote it and recorded it on my parents' album back in 2017. I wrote the song when I was 16. And it's called Hunger. And Cece heard me sing it, and she wanted to put it on her album. So she recorded that song.
yeah.
And I went to the recording, and she had me come up and sing it with her. I had a buzz cut at the time.
I think I've seen you.
Yeah, that was a dark season of my life.
It's okay. We all have weird haircut seasons.
Yeah, we do.
In fact, people made fun of mine.
Your
I got
haircut
rid of
now?
it. No, it was like longer and weird.
Did you have a mullet?
No, God, no.
Okay, you never know. You never know.
It wasn't. It was not a mullet.
Were you like pushing it back?
It was my COVID cut. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Viking-esque.
They made.
Wait, I feel like I remember that haircut.
What's the name of the song?
Hunger.
Hunger? Mm-hmm. By Cece?
Yeah.
Cece.
And you can find my version on there too.
Oh, okay. Hunger. Mm-hmm. You wrote this?
Yes.
Am I allowed to even play this?
Probably.
Are we gonna get copy?
It's probably fine.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. You wrote this.
I wrote this with Mitch Wong when I was 16.
What's a Mitch Wong?
Mitch Wong is one of the most phenomenal songwriters of our generation.
Really?
Yes. He's amazing. Mitch
What
is
else
phenomenal.
have you written?
What else have I
I
written?
have no idea. I have no idea about this.
Goodbye Yesterday.
What's that?
It's a song I released this last year because it's a new year now with Elevation Rhythm.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
Am I allowed to play this stuff? We gonna get No, I'm not.
Just bleep it out the whole time. Yeah, I wrote that one. That one is doing really, really well. It's cool. It was such a random write, too.
4.7 million views.
Yes. Yeah. And on Spotify, I think it has 15,
I need you to know
15 million streams on Spotify.
I didn't know this about you. That's all I had. Like, legit.
We can link it when you talk about it.
Cool. Yeah.
I actually had no idea.
Yeah. The Goodbye Yesterday thing has been crazy because that song has done really, really well. Just so randomly. Josh Holiday, he is like the producer for Elevation Rhythm. I've known Mitch since I was 15 because we've been writing songs since then. He writes songs with my dad.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay. Mitch is like a little cherub. He's like so pure-hearted. Him and his wife live here. They moved from Australia. They have a little baby. Oh my God. He's really, really phenomenal and is just super pure-hearted and doesn't care who knows anything about him, and he's great. He wrote a lot of Cece's album as well.
What?
Mm-hmm. There's a whole world of songwriters. There's like
I mean, we are in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little underground community.
Yeah.
But him and so Josh Holiday wanted to write with me because I guess he had heard some of my stuff, and and Mitch has known me for so long, and he knew Mitch, and so they asked me to come do a writing session with them. First time ever meeting Josh, we wrote this song, Goodbye Yesterday. And it has 15 million streams on Spotify now.
I did not know this.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's so random. I don't ever think about it. You know what I mean?
All I know of you is like worship on Sundays at church. I had legit. I need you to hear me when I say this. Cool. Like, I had no idea this is a part of your life.
I'm very similar to you in the sense that I feel like you never really know what's going on in the world, you know what I mean? Like with people and like things that are going on.
I just don't care.
I don't care either. I don't keep up with anybody.
I love people, but I'm not like, wow.
Right. I don't really keep up with anything like that. I don't know I'm on a billboard for Amazon Music now for the artists to watch for 2025. I have no idea who else is on that billboard. No idea who any other people are.
You are?
Yes. I didn't know until yesterday.
Do you know that I didn't I wanted you on because I saw you. I said it at the beginning of the flipping thing.
What did you see? Did you see that clip, the No One Like the Lord and What a Beautiful Name clip? Because that was on everybody's pages.
Like I think it was at Legacy's conference.
Okay.
I think it was a clip from Legacy's conference, and you sang a song that I know, but you did a different tune or tone to it.
Yeah, that was the No One Like the Lord, What a Beautiful Name thing, and Death could not hold.
Yeah.
That bit.
And I was like, oh my God, look at how far she's gone.
That's awesome.
I was like, oh my God, that's so great.
Well, that video went crazy out of
Did it?
nowhere. And I just like, that was something we decided to do in soundcheck. I was like, oh, what if we actually tagged No One Like the Lord with this bridge? But what if we sang it like this? Just randomly had this idea to do this. And which the way Legacy handles their sound checks, we do like, they kind of plan things out a little more, which was hard for me to adjust to because where I come from, we don't plan a single thing. We pick a few songs for the set, but then because the band, my parents' band plays together all the time, it's like they just know where to go. And so having to prepare was harder for me. But I kind of had to pray my way through understanding like, okay, Lord, if I can't make decisions on the spot, like, can you help me? If you want me to go somewhere, help me like deposit those ideas in sound checks. So that's kind of what happened there. So we did that. And then I just posted a random clip. Sometimes I'll feel like I just want to post a random clip with no inclination that anything's going to happen or if people are going to like it, with not really a care for that much either. I posted it and it has like over 1 million views, which is wild. And a lot of people were hating in the comments, which is so interesting.
It is. Gracie, I'm sorry. I'm listening to you. But like, I need you to know, like, I had no idea this was going on in your life. All I know of you is that you attended this school that I would go to sometimes. I saw you at Starbucks.
Yes. The other day, right? That was like a month or so ago, a couple months ago.
And when I saw you at Starbucks, I was like, oh man, I remember when I went to Nashville and you were singing and it was so pure and I want to have you on. I legit had no idea that God was already like, I asked a girl, right before I did this, I did a little youth thing with our Iris missionary kids. I did a little like training video with them, like a Zoom youth call. And I had this girl, she said, I want to do worship. She might have been like 14 years old. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go and I'm about to leave and do a podcast with Gracie. And she's in South Africa, South African girl. And she was like, I love her. And I was like, how do you know who that is?
That's so wild.
This was right before I came on here.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you. All I know of you is that you like were at Legacy School.
Yeah.
And I knew, of course, I knew that you were gifted. But I think like 3.5 years ago, or 4.5 years ago, when I posted that little thing about you, I actually tagged you. But when I went back and looked at it, I didn't even get your name right in it. I was like, I got to meet Esther today or whatever, and she can sing.
Not
like
Esther.
This nugget's going places.
This nugget, yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited.
Thanks.
Wow. So you got a lot going on right now.
Yeah, there's a lot
Gracie.
going on. And I think I have been.
When I tell you I didn't prepare, like I actually don't prepare for these things.
I love that because
I just try
didn't
to bring
want
people on
to,
that I want to bring on.
Yeah.
But like, so what?
Yeah.
You're getting married?
Yeah.
Things are picking up?
Mm-hmm. I'm like an adult. It's crazy.
How are you doing with all that? Like, how are you? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You seem okay. Like, there's a lot.
It's a lot. I feel like the wedding is like a finish line where I feel, because we were.
It's the
I know.
Oh,
for life,
okay, yeah.
Well, for life, yes, it's the beginning of everything.
Yeah.
But as far as this, like, we've been waiting to sign this contract for so long, and like, I don't make enough money to live anywhere right now. But after I sign the contract, I'll have a full year's salary in my bank account, and that whole change has never happened to me in my whole life. So it's just a huge, like, yeah, it's just so different than anything I've experienced yet.
Do you bounce this stuff off of like CC and like, do you bounce?
I talk to Rita probably the most about things like this.
I love that woman.
Yeah. And I've talked to Stephanie about it some, but she really only answers voice texts. So
She answered my call like a couple of weeks ago.
she'll answer calls and she'll answer voice texts.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm bad at those things. I'm usually just like a texter.
I hate texting.
But I like audio messages now. So we met for coffee a little while ago to talk about some things.
Can I ask you, like, what's the advice that Rita's giving you? If, like,
yeah.
you're sitting down, Rita, do I sign this? What do I do?
She's given me, I met with Jen majorly about Jen Johnson.
Love Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I met with her. This was because Rita, I was talking about some other things with her, like just about moving, us deciding to move. And I had some dreams that I needed some interpretation on and some just prayer about, like, this feels like this to me. Can you pray with me? She helped me. She's so blunt, like she's not afraid to, like, say it how it is. So that was really beneficial to us deciding to move and choosing to be in, like, a hidden place in this season, because their church is a smaller church in Chattanooga. It's not like some big, like, there's no big social media platform, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I want to be somewhere where I can, like, bury myself under a chair and people not, come up and talk about whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm putting out, and, like, just be able to serve quietly, So that was a big deal for me, a big decision I had to make in this season. And then as far as signing with a label and how all of that goes, I met with Jen about this because I want to talk about this scenario that I was in before, but I do have to be careful legally. So I had to get out of a bad situation. Yep. And I guess I just won't name any names or anything. I had to get out of a not good situation. And I was asking her for advice on, like, what do I do? Do I see this through for however many years that or they haven't done this and they owe us this and, all the stuff that was going wrong. And she recommended us a lawyer. And she was like, look, if you want to sign to Bethel, she was like, if you want to work with Bethel, like, we would love to work with you, but you're not only called to worship. She was like, we're great with worship artists, but you were called to other things as well. She was like, you would probably work really well with Capitol. And so she said that. And I have a management team they're amazing.
You do?
Yes, I do. But I, like, anything that I feel from the Lord that I need to do, or any assignment I feel like is next, they help me get it done. There's no, like, you should do this or you should do that. It's like they want to hear from me what my vision from the Lord is, and they want to come alongside and help me manage it and handle it, because I cannot do that by myself. So yeah, they've been really amazing in navigating all the decisions. And they'll help me they helped me kind of work out a time to meet with Jen and talk about all, the label stuff. So, but they were working on scheduling meetings with different labels. And so we prayed about it and we talked about it. And I kind of, like, put this fleece before the Lord in a sense of, like, okay, and when things get so stressful in my life and when there's a lot of decisions that I have to make, it's so hard for me to hear. Yeah. Because it's all just so cloudy. Yeah. And I'm like, just thinking a million miles a minute of, like, I have to make the right decision because I made the wrong one before, and how am I, going to figure this out the right way? And so I kind of put, like, a timeline on it. I was like, Lord, when I need to be financially stable, when this wedding is, and what I need to be taken care of. And if this is the right place, then all of that will be met, and there's not going to be any question, and we're going to feel peace about it. And that's exactly what's happened. So I'm signing with Capitol. That's super awesome. And the deal is, like, it's really unheard of as far as I know. It's like, so I don't know, you probably don't know any of logistics behind deals, but it's like a licensing deal, which is amazing because I get to make a lot of the decisions. I get to really make all the decisions on what I release and when I release it, which was a huge struggle with me with where I was before. I didn't really get to make a lot of the decisions, and it was really, like, crippling being where I was and feeling like I was being, like, there was a lot of pushback and I couldn't run where I felt like I needed to run. So I've basically been given, like, free reins with this. And so it's a really exciting season to kind of just see how the Lord uses it. And yeah.
Wow. So how are you staying? Of course, you have this team. You have a team around you. You have people around you. So when I wanted to have you on, I reached out to Lyle because I just thought you were, like,
Oh, I did. I just texted my manager. I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm doing Will's podcast because I adore you. And I'm not about to like make her like, I wasn't going to like
You had to go through
that.
management, like your management.
I just texted her. I was like, just so you know, I'm doing this podcast. And she was like, okay, cool.
I'm just I'm legit shocked. I just didn't know that things had progressed this far in your life. And it's beautiful.
I signed with management before my first year of school.
Really?
Yes. The summer before, I believe. I think.
So we're talking about
Legacy School. It might have been the
school.
Summer after.
Legacy School of Ministry.
Yes.
And I used to come and teach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did sign, I think, right before the first year of school. And I could be wrong. Sydney, correct me if I'm wrong. It was either before the first year or right before the second year. But then I signed with a label that following summer, which didn't go as planned. But yeah, so I have been working towards all of that through the entire school. But I've been working towards that my entire life too.
Right.
It's not just
it sounds like this is the direction of the Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are your parents? What's the wisdom your parents are giving you right now? Marriage, things seem to be exploding.
Yeah.
What are they telling you?
I mean, just prioritizing pleasing the Lord in all of it and not getting caught up in, I mean, even the way they've taught by example, like what I've talked about with, living purely and prioritizing, not caring what people think and pleasing the Lord, and like that being the example set before me has been really helpful. As far as like the actual logistics of it all, right before I moved, okay, my dad was like, I think it's time. Like, it's time for you to record whatever album he was feeling like from the Lord. Like, it's time for you to step out and pursue this and do this. And that's soon after that I decided to move, which was unrelated. And that was at the same time where I was like, I never want to sell worship. So it was such a funny like balancing act. But I think that's why the Lord was saying to him that it was time, because I wanted nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I actually, I'm no stranger to the industry side of it. I signed a development deal, which is like the deal you sign before you sign a record deal, when I was 15 with a record label, Christian record label. And I released some music as a young teenager, like an EP, and some singles. And then when I was 18, I signed a record deal, a 3-year record deal. So right after that ended, that's when my dad was saying what he was saying about putting out an album. And then I moved and went through ministry school, signed with management, didn't sign with the label because I wanted to pray about it for a while. And I think the Lord is going to use everything I did in that season with this past situation I was in. But yeah, so I've been super prayerful. I think, back to advice that they've given me, just to be really prayerful about it all and make sure that I am able to do what I feel the Lord asking me to do, which is what's happening with this deal.
Right.
Rather than having to jump through hoops or do things, like strategy and all the businessy, whatever things that can get so muddy.
Yeah.
To be able to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling from the Lord, and then have people come alongside and help me create a strategy for that. That has been like, to get like detailed with it all. That's kind of like the mindset that we've all sort of helped me create.
A couple of things, if you don't mind, because I know we've been how long have we been going, guys?
An hour and 15.
That's
okay.
crazy.
We're
Doesn't
good.
feel like that.
How do you stay full of his presence and not get caught up in it? Like, what do you do?
Yeah. So I'm not a very organized person. I was actually thinking about this question before I got here because I felt like you were going to ask it at some point. I'm not a very organized person, but how I talked about my entire life being worship, I really do feel like I'm in constant communion with the Lord and constant conversation with the Lord about, whatever stresses I'm going through in the day or whatever, there's a scripture. What's the scripture? Todd Mendez talks about this sometimes, about being in constant prayer, praying without ceasing. Where is that? Do you know off the top of your
Off
head?
the top of my head, no.
Great. Okay. I'm so glad that I'm not
sorry.
like the odd man out here
Yeah.
for not knowing. Praying without ceasing. I've tried to incorporate that in my life because I'm like, how do people get up at 6 a.m. every day and read their Bible for an hour and then pray for it? I'm like, that is such, it's hard for me to grasp, and I know it's possible too.
Yeah.
But right now in the season of my life, it's super hard to grasp. So I think for me, I try to read my Bible every day. I've been doing reading plans because it's been hard for me to feel like super focused and like, okay, well, now I'm going to read 5 chapters of this, which I was doing some last year. But I think, I've been doing reading plans with my fiance too. So we're doing the same ones, which is
That's
really
fun.
Wow. But I think, prioritizing, like making time to read and then just praying all the time.
Yeah.
In my car, on drives. I drive every other weekend. I drive to Chattanooga because my fiance is living in Chattanooga right now. I'm here. So we switch off weekends and we go to church together every weekend. So on those drives, like spending time in prayer and just like when you're thinking, just thinking thoughts, thinking with the Lord instead of just like thinking and spiraling into thought patterns or whatever, like taking everything to the Lord. I sleep to worship music.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of, with how crazy everything is right now, it's like I have an emergency little IV in my arm, and like I'm constantly throughout the day, no matter how busy I am, trying to, if I'm working on something, playing worship music and praying while I'm doing it. Like my dad talks about this a lot too. Like my dad and Malachi's mom, I've heard, my dad says, like praying while you're making your oatmeal, like praying in the Spirit while you're making breakfast and like constantly living a lifestyle of prayer. And then Malachi's mom talks about like 5 minutes the Lord can turn into hours, if that's all you have, giving all you have to the Lord. Yeah, wow. I think that's kind of my frazzled answer.
How do you write? What is your process in writing?
I just get ideas. They just come to me.
Give me an example.
Like I'll be driving, okay, and I'll be thinking, whether it's about my life.
Hopefully you're thinking while you're driving. So I think it's a good thing.
No, usually not thinking about where I'm driving. But I'll be thinking about something, like whether it's a relationship, like I've written a lot of love songs in my life. Writing music is how I process everything. Yeah. It's how I process my emotions. It's how I process relationships, life, decisions, and my relationship with the Lord. But it's everything. It's not just like I'm writing worship songs. So if I'm in prayer and I'm talking with the Lord and I say something to him in prayer, I'm like, oh, that's a good line for a song. And I'll write it down and then I'll revisit it. And it just kind of all comes together on its own. People have asked me this question before, like what a songwriting process looks like. I never know. It just comes out how it comes out. But if I have a feeling about something, it's like just writing out that feeling in a poetic way. Or if I'm wanting to tell a story, telling a story in a poetic way. I sit in my room really late at night. Like I said, I'm not a very organized person when it comes to like my schedule, which I wish I could be, but what a travel schedule is like. It's hard to be like super structured with everything. So a lot of times it looks like not being able to sleep because I'm thinking about something, and then I'll get up at 11:30 and grab a guitar and like write something so I can go to sleep.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What is like, if you look forward 5 years from now, like what do you want to be doing? You're married.
Yeah.
Kids? No kids?
Yeah, I think, we want to have kids in like 3 years.
Okay.
So, I was actually in a meeting with Capital when we were talking about signing, and they were like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your dream? What's your dream? This is what they asked what my dream was. I was like, I really want to be a mom, and I want to have a family, and I want to raise my kids in the presence of God. Dream scenario, like I love writing music, and I love singing, and I love getting to tour that music and travel. Like that's a passion of mine. I would love to be able to do that in a really healthy and balanced way with my family. Like if I have to leave or travel, I would love to be in a financial situation where I can bring my family with me and we can be together. That's kind of like a dream scenario for like 5 years from now. But also if God says, hey, stay at home for a while and just like write music, that's cool too.
Yeah.
I think the only thing I'm married to is obedience, and I'm down to just like throw it all away,
Do you get restless after like 3 years and you want to move on to something else? Like every 3 years you're switching it up?
Not in like a main, like big grand scheme of things. Like I've never wanted to change lanes as far as music goes. That's been my thing since I was 7.
Right.
So
like, I need to move here. I'm going to go do something different here. Like, do you constantly? Because I feel like what I'm hearing you say is, like, I'm insanely unorganized. I'm insanely all over the place. And I feel like one of the worst things that happens to me is like after like 3-4 years, I'm like, I'm bored and I mix it all up.
I think I really, because I travel all the time and I love travel and I want to be able to go on. I love going. I've gone on 2 like missions trips, not like the kind that you've done some phenomenal things. I went on a trip to Cambodia and Indonesia and Singapore. Recently, which was I really like want to be able to do that once a year and travel, but I have this dream of like having a home base because my life is so crazy and feels like I'm always somewhere and being pulled in a different direction, to be able to have a home where I can always come back to and it's the same and I can rest and be hidden. That's a really big dream of mine.
How are you navigating people pulling on you now that never pulled on you before or that like aren't seeing you?
I think it's been interesting as my platform has grown and as things have grown just career-wise. It does feel like I'm being pulled on a lot more than I was 2 or 3 years ago, which I'm still learning how to navigate it. I don't really I think I've had to learn to say no to a lot of things, which was really hard for me because when you're in ministry school, you're taught to say yes to so many things. But I obviously, have a different lifestyle than the average person who isn't traveling 4 times a month.
Right.
So I think I was in this mindset of like, oh, I need to say yes to everything. And like, that's what's going to like please the Lord and like, serving all the time. But learning to prioritize, actually, that is going to spread me too thin. And if I can stay home and spend time with the Lord in my room and have time to read and pray and rest, that I was watching a reel the other day. TBN has a program called Better Together. It's all women. My mom's been on it a few times. But Cece was on it. And, oh my gosh, what's her name? She's like so famous, like the most famous, Joyce Meyer. Myers or Meyer?
Joyce Meyer.
Okay. She was on.
I don't know right now.
I
Now
know,
that you said
right?
that, why did you say that?
I'm sorry.
Joyce Myers.
Myers.
God, why did you do that?
Sorry.
Yes.
But
Joyce.
she was talking about how she was like so busy and spread so thin. And
Yeah.
she was asking the Lord, like, how do I do this? And he was like, Joyce, do you love me? And she was like, yes, I love you. And he asked again, like, Joyce, do you love me? And she thought she was going to have like a Peter situation. And he was like, that's all I ask of you.
Yeah.
And so to be able to be in that place of it's okay if I say no to people asking me of things. And if I can just be with the Lord and love him and spend time with him. So it's been a shift of priority, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you working on right now that most excites you?
I wrote a song for my dad recently.
Can you share some of it?
I can talk about it. It's a surprise.
Okay.
He knows about it, but
this won't be out for a little while too, so like it's not going to be out like
next
week.
Yeah. I could read you lyrics, but okay. I wrote it. So I was trying to find a song for our first dance from my dance with my dad at the wedding, and I could not find a single song. So I was in a writing session with 2 other Christian writers, and they were talking about their kids, and I was talking about my dad, and I was like, I would love to write a song for my dad. And they were like, why don't we just write the song for your dad? And so we all sobbed in this writing session while writing this song. And I like kept it a secret for a little while. And then I told my dad over Christmas, because my mom was like, I played it for my mom. And she cried like a baby. And she was like, you have to tell your dad. She was like, it's not going to be fair if you surprise him at the wedding and he's just going to be a mess.
Why? That's like the best.
I know.
That's the best part of it.
But she's like, he's probably like, I have a very special relationship with my dad, and he will probably not be able to be normal if I play it for him then. So I'm probably, we've got 29 days. I'll probably play it for him like the week of the wedding, but just before, so he has a moment to himself to listen to it. But we're actually going to release it, which this will be my first song that's not like a worship or Christian song.
You're releasing the song you wrote to dance with your father at your wedding. Before or after the wedding? You're doing this after
on the wedding day.
You're releasing the song on the
we're
wedding day.
planning on releasing it on the wedding day if we're able to turn it in on time. If not, it will be maybe like a week after the wedding. But yeah, we're gonna release it.
How will people be able to find it?
It'll be on Spotify and everything, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever, all the streaming, Amazon.
What's it called?
Not Our First Dance.
God, I want to hear. Like, can you give us some? You say you have some of the words.
Let me pull up the lyrics.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel forced.
No,
to
it's good. It's good. Okay, I have to go on Google Docs. This is like, because it is such a passion of mine, like just writing. And so this is really exciting that I finally get to share something that's just like my emotions and like my life rather than, it's like a piece of art that I made that I get to share. So why don't you try to read it?
God,
See.
I'll do this. By the way, what's on your hands?
It says clean and pure.
I love it. I don't know if I can read this.
Try. I want to see you try.
Okay, don't think about my daughter. Don't think about my daughter. Don't think about my daughter.
If he cries, I get $5.
No, I'm not. No. I'm tough. Do you want me to read what? What do you want me to read?
You can read the first verse. Actually, read the whole thing. To the last chorus. So you read up to the bridge.
Okay. I remember the first time we danced, every footstep in tandem with yours. I remember the dress that I wore saying, Daddy, come. Nope, I'm not doing that. Nope, sorry. Not doing that. Not doing that. Not going to read that.
That's my tactic because I can't read it either. I can't read it either.
I apologize. Put that away. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that.
Well, you can hear it when it comes out.
Nope. Nope, don't.
It's really sweet though, and the music is so like waltzy and it's beautiful. So I'm so excited.
Nope.
I'm not even gonna try and read any of the lyrics.
That's the worst. You're not fun to have on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad. That's my bad.
Stop.
Yeah. So our goal, like my hope is that that's a good resource too for people for their weddings.
Were the people like there?
We were all wrecks.
Were their fathers in the room?
When we wrote the song?
Yeah.
No.
It was just a bunch of ladies?
No, it was like when I wrote the song, it was me and a man who's a father.
Yeah, that's my question. Are their fathers in the room?
A woman, I thought you were asking if their fathers were in the room.
No.
I was
were
like,
their fathers in the room while you were writing
typically how we
it?
do writing sessions. Yeah, there was one father in the room.
Dad. Yeah.
There was one dad and then one mom.
Okay.
So they both had kids. And so
not fair.
Right.
Not
it was a very emotional experience.
Not cool.
I could not get through it was honestly such a gift that I had people to write the song with, because trying to do that myself, I probably wouldn't have been able to stop like sobbing, and it wouldn't have been able to be as emotionally like deep as it is if I had tried to do it myself, because I would have cut out so much of it just to get through the process. Yeah. But I was able to talk about, I had this experience with my dad and we did this, and like this is like, what are things you think about when you think about your dad? And like I'm able to list all these things and say, oh, we should say this line, and they're able to help me put it together while understanding the dynamic between like a father and a daughter, but not being so emotionally tied to it that they can't see the screen because they're crying so hard. Yet we all cried so hard. So
my daughter's out of the country right now. I haven't seen her in like weeks. So thanks for that.
You don't read the rest of it.
Thanks.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to see her for like another 2.5 months or whatever.
Well, in 2.5 months, you can listen to the
Not
song
cool.
together.
Not cool.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. So
I didn't even read it.
Yeah.
I stopped.
But that first line you liked.
Nope.
It was good.
I'm just going to read Ecclesiastes now. Can I ask you do you have a minute?
I have all the time in the world.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Secular. Mm-hmm. And I love all music. I love art. I love creativity. I had this conversation with Rita Springer when she was on. What are some artists that you really like respect in the non-Christian?
That's such a fun question.
Genre.
Hot take for the Christian community. Taylor Swift is a phenomenal songwriter. She's a great songwriter.
This is a hot take?
It's a hot take because people think she's like the devil for some reason.
I don't know.
Everybody thinks everybody's the devil. Yeah, I respect Taylor Swift and her writing because she's actually one of the reasons why I started writing songs at such a young age. But she made it a point to write all of her own songs. And when she first started coming out with music, everybody was like, oh, she's co-writing. She's not a real writer. Because she was a girl. People thought that. She was like 16, 17. And so she made it a point to be the sole writer on all of her songs for a few of the albums that she put out.
Yeah.
And that was such an inspiration to me because I loved writing, and to see someone doing it successfully made me want to do that. Yeah. Another person that I think is a great writer, and it's cool to watch, Billie Eilish writes all her music with her brother.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
It is.
Yeah, I think
it's really incredible music.
Yeah, like it is.
It is.
The production.
I can't deny that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my dream is actually to be able to be a good influence. I feel like we have so much good music, but we have very little good influences in the secular industry, which if you ask, it's so funny. I say secular all the time, but most people in the music industry don't even know what that word means.
Right.
So like a lot of the Christian music community will call it general market music.
Yeah.
Or mainstream or whatever. So a dream of mine is to be able to be a good influence for people in the world, to be able to find my music and then find the Lord.
Yeah. Is there someone that's found your music, that's reached out to you, that shocked you?
Actually, something that was really cool to me. I mean, yeah, things shock me all the time where like some really well-known influencer or somebody will like post my song and I'm like, oh, that's wild. Okay. But something that was really cool to me, this has happened a couple times, but this one person in particular reposted that video that you saw and said, I'm not even a Christian, but every time I see like Gracie's stuff, like she's so,
Can you
whatever.
say who it was?
I don't remember who. It was just a random person. It was like, but that is what moved me the most, that some random person who doesn't know the Lord is finding my music and it's moving them.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big goal of mine, or dream of mine. So
cool.
Yeah.
Gracie, are there any questions I haven't asked you that you want me to ask you?
I don't think so.
Which sounds weird, but is there anything that when you were coming here, being like, man, I'm going to go speak at this little teeny little micro podcast in the middle of a basement, which I don't think you knew it was in a basement.
I didn't. It's awesome.
But it's not creepy basement.
No. It's a finished basement.
It is. Is there anything that you were, I mean, of course, at the end, I'm going to say how people can connect and watch all your stuff.
Well, I was expecting you to give me a really elaborate prophetic word and $1 million.
Yes.
So
that's going to happen.
Okay.
Eventually.
That's the last thing that I was thinking. No, I don't, I think we talked about everything. I really wanted to be able to touch on hiddenness, and I did.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really important to me.
Can you mention your fiance's name?
Malachi.
Oh, you have already. Malachi. And can you just speak one last, if there is a young lady out here watching, right, that's praying.
Make sure he has a Bible name.
Malachi. It's the Italian prophet.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you tell them to do in the waiting?
Oh, fall in love with the Lord. I will say too, even at the beginning of my relationship, I was like, so I sleep with my Bible. Okay. I know that's weird. It's not actually. It's cool. It's really cool of me.
I feel like you could just say it and be like, it's actually really cool.
It's actually super cool.
Yeah.
But I was single for a solid year before, and that's the longest I've been single which is, I know that's crazy, but I was such a boyfriend girl growing up, and so I was single for a whole year.
You were such a boyfriend girl.
Yeah, I had like a 2.5 year long relationship, and then like, okay, give it 6 months, I had another relationship.
Hold on, how old are you when you started dating?
15.
Are you serious?
I know.
Time out.
My parents couldn't stop me.
What?
Yeah, they tried.
What did they do to try it?
I'm an Enneagram 8.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, I'm a challenger.
I don't believe in witchcraft.
That's so crazy. I'm very headstrong.
I know nothing about it. Yeah.
I'm super headstrong.
Okay.
So strong-willed, which is a good quality to have.
Yeah.
Not when you're 15. So I liked this guy and I wanted to date him. He went to church and everything. Like,
church
he was
boy.
a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was 3 years older than me. I know.
I would have murdered my daughter.
I know.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I know. But my parents, they told me, like, my dad took me on a walk and he was like, you have to break up with him, because I'd already started dating him without telling them. And they found out. And so my dad took me on a walk and he was like, hey, you guys have to break up. And I was sobbing. I was like, this isn't fair. And then I think it just put such a rift in our relationship because I knew how to hold a grudge. I really did. Wild.
I can feel that. Yeah, just when you said the word.
Yeah,
I was like,
you knew.
Yeah, you do.
You knew, yeah. Now I'm healthier now as an adult, believe it or not. But
get rid of that thing before marriage.
Yeah,
the best of your ability. Keep going.
But yeah, we broke up, and my parents were like, because I think it created the rift that it did, they were like, okay, you guys can date when you turn 16. Mm-hmm. So I turned 16 and we started dating. We dated for 2.5 years. I had a dream. I think I would also like to say something to the parents. Your daughter is going to be fine. She's probably going to be just fine. Especially if I think here's what saved my relationship with my parents throughout my whole childhood. They always pointed me back to the Lord and back to the presence of God. Even if they didn't like trust my decision or think I was making the right choice, they always pointed me to the Lord. Not in like a, well, you better pray about that kind of way, but in like a, they were always putting me in the room in the presence of God. And I was always exposed to the presence of God. So I got to know him and hear his voice a little bit more. So I turn 17 and I have a dream. And because I know the Lord and I'm spending time in the presence, I'm like, okay, I trust that this was the Lord. And like, you know, I take action off a dream. Basically, I had this dream that this crazy lady was chasing us in a car. I was driving the car. And that's why I broke up with him.
Okay.
Because I was driving the car and he wasn't driving.
Yeah.
So a few weeks later, I break up with him over FaceTime.
Gross.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So
Yep.
This all stemmed from me asking you, what is a boyfriend girl? Is that what it is?
Yeah, because you were like, when did you start dating?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I had a couple boyfriends and then moved here dating a guy and then broke up with him in my first year of ministry school. And I was like, I could be single till I'm 30. I don't care.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was in that mindset that I met my fiance.
What would you tell like young ladies?
Fall in love with the Lord. And that's why I mentioned sleeping with my Bible, right?
Yeah.
So I, in that season of singleness, like I really, truly fell so deeply in love with the Lord. And I remember when I first started dating Malachi, I got kind of sad sleeping with my Bible in my room because I'm like, someday I'm going to have to share a bed with somebody.
That's amazing.
And like, am I still going to be able to sleep with my Bible?
No.
It's going to take up too much space. Right. Right. Yeah. And so that made me sad. And like, of course I'm overjoyed to be getting married, but like, I feel like you have to be in that place.
This is the weirdest conversation I've had in a long time, but I love it. Yeah. Crush it.
But yeah, I mean, like, I think falling in love with the Lord, like I feel like you have to be content.
Yeah.
Just being married to the Lord before being ready to marry someone else, because someone else is never going to meet all your needs and please you and fill every hole in your heart. That's why we have the Holy Spirit, and that's why we have Bibles to sleep with.
Come on.
So I think learning that no one person is going to complete you, but the Holy Spirit will. Yeah. And then you get to, you know, like edify each other and grow together.
Do you have a gift registry?
I do, actually.
What is it?
We could put Malachi's Venmo up there. We're collecting money for our furniture, for furnishing our house.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
What's his Venmo?
What's his Venmo?
Guys, this is a wedding time.
It's probably just Malachi Garmany.
We've never done this for a wedding. I love it.
So nice.
No, like when Musi, my wife and I got married, we had nothing.
Yeah.
And somebody came and took up an offering for us at our dinner. So we did our whole wedding cost $1,200. That was wedding, everything.
That's crazy.
And honeymoon.
Oh my gosh.
$1,200. We had nothing.
That's wild.
Is it?
You would not believe what my mom is spending on this wedding.
We did it all ourselves. We did friends. We went to Costco and bought roses and put bouquets together.
I think we honestly would have been happy with that too. but we're throwing the most
I love
massive
it.
party in
You
the world.
Do what you can. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were also married 3 times. So
3 times?
yeah. You didn't know that?
No.
Nobody's taught you this yet?
No.
You need to get married multiple times.
Huh?
You haven't been told this?
Huh?
It's true. I've been married 3 times.
Why?
It seals the deal each and every time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like
3
bang.
times the charm.
Yeah, so we got married. We got married in Randy Clark's kitchen. Do you know who Randy Clark is?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I rolled up to his house.
Okay.
And said, "Marry us."
Okay.
And he did
Cool.
in his little breakfast nook.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I've shared this. Have I shared this on here before? We got married fast.
Yeah.
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 Because the Lord. Yeah.
Right.
So we got married fast.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then we had like have you heard this before? We had like the white gown wedding.
Yeah.
And the president of Paraguay's like tailor handmade the dress for Musi.
What?
Yeah. It's a crazy story. We had no money. And so we did that at Life Center in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, like a few months later, 4 or 5 months, 6 months. Matt was there. Matt was at the wedding. Actually, I just saw a picture of you there, Matt. And then we got married in Paraguay.
Okay.
With her family.
Okay.
And,
yeah, that makes
so 3
sense.
times.
Yeah. We're having multiple wedding showers.
Yeah.
So
We'll put up the information if you guys want to bless these guys as they're starting a new life. It's an
Thanks.
amazing thing.
Yeah.
And you should do that. What's the coolest thing you put on your gift registry?
The coolest thing?
Yeah.
The Dyson vacuum. Please.
No joke. I think Lucy and I still have our Dyson that we got like when we first. No, right after we came off the missions field. So it was like got married, moved the mission field, came on. We still have the same one.
We put the cordless one on our registry. It's like $600.
Don't do it. The one, no.
Really? What people say the battery runs out or
it's
whatever.
The worst.
But
Yeah,
I've used
throw it
them
away.
before. I really like them.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just telling you.
It's just cords get so in the way.
Here's what I've learned.
I'm not very strong.
Buy stuff at Costco.
Okay.
It breaks. Return that thing. Just return that bad boy. I took a washing machine that broke 12 years. After 12 years, I wheeled that bad boy in there. They were like, "Thank you."
I flooded my house recently with a washing machine. We had to get new floors.
Yeah. And
Insane.
then get insurance too. You should
Yeah.
probably do that.
Yeah,
All
we will
those
do
things.
that.
Extra
Well,
things.
technically, it wasn't my house. My godmother. She has insurance, so it was covered. It's awesome. So awesome.
How did you? Never mind. Listen, another time.
Yeah.
Would you ever come back on when you are big and are traveling? Will you remember us?
No.
Us little missions group here.
Probably not. I'll probably forget about you guys and wear sunglasses inside all the
Thank you.
time.
I have friends that are like that.
Me too. Yes, I would come back a
It's so
million
weird.
times probably.
Gracie, like legit, I didn't know that all this was going on in your life. And I know I've said that, but like I truly didn't. I'm blown away. If anything, what I'm encouraged is that like I saw something almost 4 years ago that I felt the presence of God. Don't lose that. And I know you won't. I know you value that. But you know how to carry his presence and you worship for him. Your eyes are focused on him. It's what I saw. It's what I love. It's what my wife and I sat and worship at church and brought into his presence. I'm really excited now. I wasn't as excited, but now I'm really excited. And my wife and I will be praying for you.
Thank you.
And if you ever need anything, I know you got a million people. Lyle, man, and Lyle's amazing. And the fact that you've been through the school and just if you ever need anything, we're always here.
Thanks.
Little Iris missionary house. Yeah. You're awesome.
Thanks.
How can the people find out what you're doing?
I'm on Instagram. That's really all I do. I don't know how to use TikTok or anything like that. Also, there's a ban, so no point with the TikTok thing. My Instagram is at Gracie Binion. And I think that's all I have. I think my music's on YouTube. My music's on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes. Buying music is a lost art. If you want to buy the album, that makes me more money. You know, you make like a fraction of a penny on a stream.
Yeah, with all my streams, it's just fractions.
It's just fractions.
That's a joke.
He gets it.
I'm sorry.
No,
I have
it
idea
wasn't.
what you're
You get it.
I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
I'm making you look educated.
I'm not.
You know?
And I've been doing this a long time. People know me. Yeah. I'm
It's all
sorry.
right. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stream the music or buy the music or watch it on YouTube. Cool.
Awesome. And buy your dad's book.
And buy my dad's book, Invisible Worshipper. He has 2 books, actually. The Revelation of Jesus is also really phenomenal. He wrote an entire album from the book of Revelation because he heard the voice of God in the middle of the night tell him to write the Revelation of Jesus. He wrote 18 tracks, so a couple of the chapters are combined into songs.
Cool.
And there's a book that goes along with it. Super beautiful.
And then in about a month, you're going to have a song out about dancing with your
Yep.
dad and all that stuff.
And I'm going to be married.
You can cry. And you'll be married.
Yep.
I'm excited for you, girl.
Thanks.
Bless you. We did it. That wasn't hard.
I know, yeah.
You're amazing. What are we doing? What was that?
That was like a, you know,
You're
dap up?
Have you ever had a dead fish?
No.
Like, shake my hand.
Oh, yeah.
It's the worst.
You ever dap somebody up before?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing. You got to walk me through this.
So, like, go like this, and then go like this, and then snap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That was
That
so
was
good.
awful. That was awful.
You're so
It
cool
felt
now.
wrong. Bless you guys. Thank you for watching this episode of the Iris Global
Yay.
Green Room. Do all the things. Hit like, hit subscribe. Tell them what they should do on the thing to make us more famous. Hit like, hit subscribe.
Wear sunglasses inside.
No, don't do that. Leave a comment. Follow Gracie. Do all the things. We will see you on the next episode. Bless you guys.